When I was 9, I burst into the house, waving my report card. "Mom, I got straight A's!" I shouted, beaming with pride. But her response was a frantic yell, demanding money for her supplies. She snatched the $20 I'd saved, then disappeared for 6 years. Now she's back, pleading to step back into my life as my mother. By 11, I was already self-sufficient, washing my own clothes, preparing simple meals with whatever we had, and tucking myself in at night with a heavy blanket, pretending it was someone's embrace. My mother was physically present, but she might as well have been gone, locked away in her room, absorbed in her creative work. I never understood why her projects never brought in any money, but I figured she trusted me to handle things frugally. Even when gunfire woke me at night or the summer heat suffocated me in our un-air-conditioned apartment, I felt a strange sense of accomplishment. At friends' houses, I'd take charge, cooking full meals, scrubbing counters, vacuuming furniture, even fishing out stray coins from between couch cushions. They'd marvel, saying, "Your mom must be amazing to raise such a responsible kid." I'd nod, grinning wide, and say, "Yeah, she's the greatest." No one ever asked why I was so skinny, why I slept on the floor instead of a bed, or why I apologized mid-sentence. They just saw me as polite and grown up. So when my mother finally emerged from her room after days, I'd rush to her. "Mom, look at my grades. My teacher said I did awesome," I'd say. "That's nice, sweetie," she'd reply, her breath sharp with smoke, stinging my nose. "What day is it, honey?" she'd ask. "Wednesday," I'd answer, forcing a smile, hoping it would make her love me the way I craved. Then she'd lose it, thrashing around, slamming her fist into the wall. "Damn it, I thought it was Thursday. I thought the check came today." When I stepped closer, she raised her hand like she might hit me, so I spoke fast. "Mom, I've got $20. Her face softened instantly. "You're the sweetest, most responsible girl any mom could want," she said. But before I could soak in her words, she grabbed the cash, dashed to the corner store for supplies, and locked herself back in her room to work. You might wonder where I got that $20. There was this rich kid at school, always flashing his lunch money, bullying others, spitting on kids who looked different. So I started tracking who I could take from and when, all for those brief moments when Mom would emerge, needing $20, $40 or more, supplies. Like any kid bending the rules, I got careless. 3 months in, Ms. Lee, my teacher, caught me. I braced for yelling or police, but instead, she sat me down in her office for a conversation, not a lecture. "What's your favorite thing to eat?" she asked. "Rice with ketchup," I said. "What do you and your mom do for fun?" she continued. "Sometimes, when she gets her check and works in her room, I sit by her door and tell her about my day," I replied. "What time do you go to bed?" she asked. 2 a.m., when Mom's quiet, I said, smiling, just happy to talk to an adult who seemed to care. But when I glanced up, her eyes were wet with tears. She told me to wait, handed me a Nintendo Switch to play with, and left. 2 hours later, a knock came. Ms. Lee returned with 2 officers and a woman in a suit who said she was from Child Services. Their faces held forced smiles, like they were trying but failing to seem cheerful. "Sweetie, we're going to your house to check on your mom," the woman said. I panicked, my breath catching. "No, she's working. She needs quiet," I yelled, but they were already guiding me to the car. At home, Mom didn't answer the door. The police said they had to do a welfare check. I begged them not to disturb her, but they pushed open the unlocked door anyway. I knocked on her bedroom door. "Mom, people are here." No response. I pleaded with them to leave her be, but they wouldn't listen. An officer opened the door, and my heart stopped. There was no canvas, no brushes, no art, just Mom, sitting in the middle of the room with a spoon and powder. The walls were stained with dark mold, the floor buried under cigarette stubs. I wanted to scream for someone to take me away. The woman, Victoria, touched my shoulder. I flinched. She said everything would be okay. The officers entered the room as I stood frozen in the hallway. Mom started yelling, throwing things. Glass shattered. Victoria led me to the living room, sitting me on our worn-out couch. I couldn't stop trembling. After what felt like forever, the police came out, Mom in handcuffs, sobbing my name. I wanted to run to her, but Victoria held me back. Mom kept saying she was sorry, that she loved me. Then they took her away in the squad car. I watched the lights fade from the window. Victoria explained I'd have to stay somewhere else for a while. I mentioned my Aunt Susan, who lived 2 towns over. We hadn't seen her in years because Mom called her judgmental. Victoria made calls while I packed my few belongings, 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, some underwear, into a trash bag. She found my report card on the floor where Mom had dropped it. All A's except 1 B in math. "You should be proud," she said. We drove an hour to Aunt Susan's house, which was big, with 2 stories and a yard. Susan opened the door before we knocked. She looked like Mom, but healthier, her hair neat, her clothes normal. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Victoria explained everything while I sat on a real couch with soft cushions. Susan kept wiping her eyes, saying she'd been trying to get custody of me for years, but Mom wouldn't allow it. I didn't know. After Victoria left, Susan showed me to a real bedroom with a bed, sheets, and a closet. I just stared, unsure what to do. She asked if I was hungry, and I said no, though my stomach growled. She made me a sandwich. Ham, cheese, lettuce. I devoured it so fast I nearly got sick. That first night, I slept on the floor out of habit. Susan found me in the morning, cried, and tucked me into bed. I stayed there for 3 days, only getting up to use the bathroom. She brought me food and water, never pushing me to talk. On the 4th day, I went downstairs. She was making waffles from scratch. She asked if I wanted to help, and I did. The waffles were perfect, crisp and golden. I ate 7. She just smiled and made more. Later, she suggested clothes shopping. I said I had no money, but she said it was her treat. At the store, I kept checking price tags until she told me to stop worrying. I got shirts that fit, a warm jacket, and shoes without holes. She even bought me real pajamas. Back home, she helped me arrange everything in my closet. Then she asked if I wanted to talk about Mom. I shook my head. She said that was okay. We could talk whenever I was ready or never. But she did say Mom was sick and needed help. It wasn't my fault, and I couldn't fix her. I'd done more than any kid should have to. I broke down, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Susan held me, letting me cry until I was empty. School started 2 weeks later. Susan drove me in her old Toyota, which smelled of lavender and tea. She handled all the paperwork. New emergency contacts, new address. The secretary's pitying looks made me squirm. Susan hugged me goodbye, her scent soft and clean, unlike Mom's. I worried everyone would know about Mom, but no one said anything. I ate lunch alone, picking at soggy cafeteria food. After school, I studied in the library where Ms. Carter, the librarian, started leaving crackers by my table. Things felt okay for a month. I ate 3 meals a day, slept in a real bed, and took hot showers without worrying about bills. Susan signed me up for volleyball, buying me proper gear, sneakers, knee pads, a personalized water bottle. She came to every practice, cheering from the bleachers. A teammate, Mia, invited me to her birthday party. I'd never been to a real one before. Then Mom called. Susan had given me a basic flip phone for emergencies, with a tiny charm for luck. It rang while I was doing homework. Unknown number. I answered. Her voice was clearer, sharper. She was in rehab, doing better, she said. She missed me. She was sorry and wanted to see me just once to explain everything. I said I'd think about it and hung up, my hands shaking so hard I dropped the phone. I didn't tell Susan. I was scared she'd take the phone away. Mom called again the next day, and the next, always the same. She loved me, was getting better, needed to see me. Her voice was desperate, but trying to sound calm. On the 5th day, she said she was leaving soon. We could be a family again, get a nice apartment, have food and heat, maybe even a dog. I'd always wanted one. I started saving lunch money, skipping meals, lying to Susan about stomach aches for skipping dinner. Old habits crept back. Susan noticed I was getting thinner. She took me to a doctor who said I was undernourished. Susan watched me eat after that, so I got creative, hiding food in my napkin, slipping it into my pockets, feeding it to her dog, Max, when she wasn't looking. Max, a lab, loved it, wagging his tail like it was a game. Mom's calls grew frantic. 3-4 times a day. She hated rehab, said they didn't understand her. She needed to get out, needed my help. Did I still love her? Was I still her good girl? I said yes, unable to resist. Her voice made me forget the bad times, made me remember the rare hugs, the time she praised my cooking, the night she let me sleep in her bed during a storm. She said she'd be released on October 15th, a Tuesday. She'd pick me up and we'd start over somewhere new, maybe Florida, with beaches and good schools. She'd stay clean for real this time. I believed her, or wanted to. It's hard to tell the difference when you're 12 and desperate for your mom's love. I packed secretly. Jeans, the cozy sweater Susan bought me, snacks from the pantry like granola bars and chips. I hid water bottles under my bed. I felt guilty, but thrilled. Mom wanted me. She chose me. I wrote Susan a note, thanking her, telling her not to worry. I rewrote it 6 times. The morning of her release, no call came. I went to school, backpack stuffed, checking my phone constantly. Nothing. Mia asked me to sit with her at lunch. I said no, too distracted. I was terrified. What if they didn't let her out? What if she forgot me? That night, I barely ate Susan's cooking, chicken and potatoes. She asked if I was sick. I said yes and went to bed early, staring at my phone. At midnight, it rang. Not Mom. A man with a rough voice, like he'd smoked forever. He said he was her friend, that she was staying with him to get settled. She needed $100 for a bus ticket to get me. I said I didn't have it. He got mad, called me selfish. Didn't I love my mom? She always said I was her helpful daughter. I cried, promising to figure it out. He told me to meet him at the gas station on Oak Street near school, cash only, and not to tell anyone, or Mom would go to jail. I agreed. I spent the night planning. Susan's purse was downstairs. Stealing from her felt wrong. She'd been so kind. But Mom needed me. The next morning, while Susan showered, I took $40 from her wallet. The bills felt heavy with guilt. At school, I couldn't focus, watching the clock. At lunch, I met the man at the gas station, tall, skinny, with a skull tattoo on his arm. He counted the money, said it wasn't enough. Mom needed $200. I said it was all I had. He told me to get more by tomorrow or Mom would be upset. He drove off in a rusty car. I felt sick. That night, I couldn't eat. Susan checked my forehead, suggesting I stay home. I snapped no, and she looked worried but didn't push. After she slept, I crept downstairs, finding $200 in her kitchen drawer. I took it, thinking of Mom's promises. The next day, I gave the man the money. He grinned, said Mom would call tonight to arrange our meeting. I believed him because I had to. That evening, Susan made my favorite, lasagna. She talked about weekend plans, a zoo trip with Max. I nodded, feeling like a traitor. At 10 p.m., my phone rang. Another man saying Mom was arrested over old warrants, needing $500 for bail. I said I couldn't get that much. He guilted me, saying I'd abandon her to jail. I cried, promising to try. I knew Susan didn't have $500, but she had a jewelry box. I figured I could pawn something. She wouldn't notice right away. By then, I'd be with Mom, who'd get a job and pay Susan back. I snuck into her room, opening her carved wooden jewelry box. I grabbed a silver bracelet, then saw a photo of us at my first volleyball game, both smiling. I looked happy, truly happy, happier than with Mom. Susan woke up. I braced for anger, but she looked heartbroken. She asked me to sit. I told her everything. Mom's calls, the man, the stolen money, the bail. She listened quietly, then took my phone, checked the calls, and hugged me. She said it wasn't my fault. Mom was sick, using me. The man was likely her dealer, and there was no arrest, just lies for drug money. I wanted to argue, but I knew she was right. Mom hadn't come for me, just sent someone for cash. The same old pattern. Susan called the police, gave them the man's description and the gas station location. She changed my phone number. We'd deal with the money later. She just wanted me to sleep. She tucked me in, staying until I stopped crying, promising I was safe, that she'd take care of me. Mom never showed up. The man was arrested for dealing, gave info on Mom. She was using again, living with other addicts. Maybe she forgot calling me, or didn't care once the money stopped. It hurt either way. Susan got me into therapy with Dr. Ellis, who worked with kids like me, kids forced to parent their parents. Her office had cozy chairs and tissue boxes. She taught me about boundaries, that I wasn't responsible for Mom's addiction, that I could love her without fixing her. School got better. Without worrying about Mom, I focused. My grades soared. Teachers praised me for my work, not pity. Mia invited me over again, and I said yes. We watched movies, ate burgers, and giggled about silly things. Normal kid stuff. I started basketball terrible at first, but my team didn't care. Susan came to every game, cheering even when we lost, treating us to milkshakes after. Other parents invited me to sleepovers, and Susan always said yes. Therapy helped, but some days, I missed Mom so much it hurt. I'd remember the good moments and wonder if I gave up too soon. Dr. Ellis said that was normal, that the pain would ease. It did, slowly. Susan asked if I wanted to visit Mom, who was in a real rehab, clean for 60 days. Her counselor thought a visit could help, but only if I wanted. I debated for a week, changing my mind 10 times, but said yes. I needed to know if she was serious. The rehab was bright and clean, not what I expected. Mom was waiting, looking healthier, clear skin, neat hair, some weight gained. We both cried and hugged. She smelled like shampoo, not cigarettes. She apologized, saying she'd been a terrible mom, putting me through things no kid should endure. She didn't expect forgiveness, but was grateful for my love. I told her I didn't hate her. I loved her, always had. She cried more, saying she didn't deserve it but was working to be the mom I needed. We talked about school, volleyball, and Susan. She was glad I was with Susan, saying her sister was better than she'd ever been. The visit ended with another hug. She promised to call and write, no pressure, and to wait as long as I needed. Susan drove me home quietly. Over hot tea, I told her about Mom's apologies and progress. She hoped Mom would stay clean, but said to take it day by day. Mom called every Sunday at 2 p.m., talking about safe topics, school, friends, my hobbies. She shared her recovery steps, her job training, her halfway house room. She sent photos of her simple space, proud she'd paid for it herself. I pinned them up next to my volleyball team picture. One day, she suggested lunch, just us in public with Susan dropping me off. I asked Dr. Ellis, who said to trust my gut. I was scared but curious, so I agreed. At a diner, Mom was already there, nervous, drinking tea. We hugged awkwardly and ordered waffles for me, soup for her. We chatted about small things, school, basketball, her job at a grocery store. Then she handed me an envelope with $240, the money I'd stolen. She'd saved to repay Susan, part of her amends. I remembered taking it, the fear, the desperation. She apologized for making me feel I had to save her. I said Susan wasn't worried about the money, that she'd forgiven me. Mom nodded, saying Susan was always the kind one. She talked about growing up with Susan, how they'd been close. The lunch wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I didn't know if I could trust her yet, but I wanted to hope. Just a little. Careful hope.